Hello and welcome to our session. We're excited to have the opportunity to share our story with all of you today and hope that you'll find some valuable takeaways that could be of relevance to you, your team, and organization. We are grateful for the opportunity to be able to share with you the evolution of our vision for Kai Early Years and how this has helped us to develop a transformative concept which has already begun to have a positive impact on the early years community both in India and beyond. We're excited to share with you insights into how we painstakingly developed the idea, designed and built one of India's most consciously explorative, generous and luxurious campus for the early years. You will also have the opportunity to learn of the macro socioeconomic trends that influenced our thinking and gave us the impetus to create a wonder-filled learning environment. We are also enthused to be able to share with you as to how our campus was designed exclusively around the developmental needs of children in the early years, based on the latest research in neuroscience and also inspired by the philosophies, learning frameworks, and pedagogical practices of the IB-PYP and the Montessori. You will learn more about the learning environment as the third teacher and how meaningful campus design plays an integral role in supporting us to achieve our vision of transforming the early years. Allow me to begin with the story of how the idea of Kai was born. As we stood at the brink of the 35th anniversary of the Montessori section of Legacy School, which is our K-12 Cambridge International Pathway and IB World School, we introspected on our evolution and reflected on our practices, our progress, and the impact and achievements that we've made over the years. While it has certainly been an exciting and challenging journey, we found it to be very meaningful, motivating, and immensely gratifying to have been able to make a positive difference in the lives of so many children and families over the years. It was at this pivotal juncture that we paused to ponder as to what more should we do, and we also questioned the kind of impact that we would like to have beyond our school and on the early years.
To better understand as to how we could have a greater impact beyond our school community, we first had to understand as to what were the larger factors at play. And in this regard, we began our discovery process by first exploring practices from around the world that were influential in shaping or defining the early years. We further researched the larger macro socioeconomic trends to better understand as to what practices are currently and what practices will in the future impact early childhood education and the development of children. Our discovery process revealed some interesting insights, gave us some key data, as well as allowed us to identify some socioeconomic trends that currently are and that will continue to influence the future of early childhood education and child development in India and possibly internationally as well. One interesting statistic that we came across was the prediction that 1 in 4 people as part of the global workforce is most likely to be an Indian. Now we know that India is a large populous country and is home to close to about 1.3 billion people. We also know that it's predicted that close to about 30% of the population is likely to be under the age of 15, and that's almost 380 million children that we're talking about, from among which close to about 150 million children are predicted to be under the age of 6. Now, while we know that India has the human capital, we also know as people from within India and as educators here that we don't necessarily invest in the early years to provide our children with the foundation that they need. People in India generally tend to invest more in their higher education, and they closely associate higher education with success rather than the early years in setting them up with the foundations that they need for success. We also then understood that in the Indian context, we don't necessarily have certified training that is comparable to what you would have in other developed nations for the early years. This was one important statistic that helped to shape a lot of the ideation that went into the plan for Kai Early Years. And we initially began with first looking at our own curriculum to better understand as to how were we serving the needs of our children. We then looked at it from the context of how could we improve upon our existing practices, and also looking at the whole child to ensure that our children were developing with the skills the values, to ensure that they would be prepared for the next phase of their education, but also for life, as well as ensuring that they still remain conscientious citizens and contributing members of that global economy. We realize that it is going to be so critical for India in the future, from a governance and a public policy standpoint, to invest in the early years and to ensure that children have the foundation that they need to be contributing citizens as part of a global economy. And in India, we understand that early childhood education does not necessarily have the importance that it does in other developed countries. And this is something that we wanted to change. It was this statistic that got us further thinking about what the model should be for CHI, and to also understand the need to establish a benchmark for early childhood education in India that would allow people to be inspired and to also look to us to be able to shape their practices. Another insight that helped us shape our thought process at CHI was the data that revealed that India has one of the lowest enrollment rates in early childhood education. And as we looked into this further, the data revealed to us that across India, generally most people tend to have a low level of awareness of the importance of the early years and don't truly understand as to how transformative the early years are in providing a child with a foundation for life. Another interesting insight that we drew upon is the fact that education in India is highly respected, it's revered, it's sought after, it's valued, but we don't necessarily see the type of commitment being made from an economic context to support the development of our schools and the education system to the extent that it should be in ensuring that our children are being prepared with the skill sets that they need to be part of a global economy. We're glad that the government recently, as part of their National Education Policy Framework, recognized the importance of the early years. In India, education is highly revered, is respected, is sought after, and is valued. However, India being such a large country, the issues of equity and access and the quality of education still tend to be something that we are challenged with. And it was in this regard that we looked at how could we go about making a difference and possibly influencing public policy. As we explored how we could improve the quality of education, one thing that emerged for us that is a challenge today within the country is the fact that the early years are highly unregulated. We also found that parents often will choose proximity and will choose location and will choose convenience over other important aspects. Preschools or early childcare centers typically tend to be operated out of independent homes and are operated by people who don't necessarily have the qualifications or the expertise. We find that teachers don't necessarily have the training to be able to engage children in the way that they should to ensure that the development of the whole child is being addressed. We find that the learning environment tends to be small and cramped, and children don't necessarily have access to the type of space that they should to ensure that they are developing to their fullest potential. Often, bedrooms are converted into classrooms, and living rooms tend to be the amount of space that a child has to engage in activity. This doesn't necessarily provide for a high quality experience. In addition to the external macro trends, we also turn to our own internal community to better understand from them as to what their experiences were and to validate the findings that were coming out from our discovery process. With our own internal community, we focused on soliciting feedback on 3 key areas. One was the learning and curriculum, the second aspect was the learning environment, and the third was relationships and culture. The findings that came about from the internal discovery process helped to validate the data, insights, and needs that emerge from the external macro trends as well. I would like to thank you for your time and for allowing me the opportunity to share with you the process that we underwent to redefine the vision for CHI. I would like to hand the conversation back to Jennifer, who will now walk you through and help you understand as to how we aligned our curriculum to help meet these goals, as well as to understand as to how our practices have now influenced and shaped the design of our campus, and in ensuring that every member and every child in our community can thrive at CHI.
In consideration of the trends and needs that were identified, we began by tackling aspects that were within our immediate reach of influence and control. We knew that we had to establish a new visible benchmark for early years education in India if we were about to begin the very uphill task of beginning to transform the early years beyond our school community. As early childhood educators and caregivers, we are primarily responsible in preparing our little ones for their next phase of education and for life itself. To address this challenge, we consciously strive to remain mindful of our children's needs and progressive in our thoughts and practices, to ensure that the education our children receive today definitely remains relevant for them tomorrow. Having been Montessori practitioners at our school for 3 decades, we first began by reviewing and assessing the effectiveness and relevance of our curriculum. While the approach and practices of the Montessori have been well established for over 100 years and are practiced consistently across the globe by authentic Montessori schools, we believe that there are certain aspects that need to be enhanced in the light of the progress that we have made as humanity, particularly the advances that have been driven by innovations in science and technology over the last 60 years. It was at this point that we realized that we needed to develop a unique learning framework that would further build on the proven strengths of the Montessori while enriching the learning experiences to allow our children to excel in the future. After careful consideration and a thorough analysis of various early years philosophies, curricula, and practices, we decided to uniquely integrate the Montessori and IB-PYP. While the Montessori and IB have very clear differences, the core of their philosophies is similar. With such unique strengths, we were confident that with a carefully blended international curriculum, our children would surely benefit and thrive. We uniquely articulated and aligned our curriculum around 4 pillars, which are now cherished as the heart of our learning experiences at CHI. The first pillar is about being an independent learner. It encourages our CHI students to learn and be independent through a magnitude of ways. Montessori's practical life activities and culture of nurturing a sense of care for oneself, for others, and the environment provide a strong foundation. To enhance student agency, the IB transdisciplinary themes provide opportunities for inquiry and exploration through a stimulating environment, resulting in deeper conceptual understanding. Across our campus, each of our learning spaces have been carefully curated to enable exploration, inquiry, discovery, and learning, while also encouraging the development of self-management skills in an effort to facilitate a child's independence right from an early age. The second pillar is about building skills for life. Research has shown the transformational impact that the early years has on neurodevelopment. The brain first makes connections and establishes patterns that influences a child's learning and development, which also has a corresponding impact on their life, reaching all the way into adulthood. As children experience the sensitive periods where routines and habits are formed, the IB provides a great opportunity for intentional and meaningful skills and attributes to be developed. The third pillar is about a personalized approach. We strongly believe that every child is unique and that a one-size-fits-all approach does not encourage a child to strive or reach their full potential. At CHI, we understand the importance of providing an individualized approach to children to allow them to learn, develop, and thrive at their own pace while supporting their personal interests and inquiries. The fourth pillar is about a strong, enabling environment. Both the IB and Montessori focus on a prepared environment, creating and maintaining responsive spaces for play to provoke inquiry and inculcate skills and values. Another central feature in the IB curriculum is to offer many opportunities for symbolic exploration and expression. These opportunities are clear to any visitor the first time they walk on our campus. Learning at Kai is a dynamic experience. Kai has 20 different learning environments that are created to spark a sense of wonder in our students. There are various ways in which children learn through exploration, play, and interaction. Our free plan design encourages independence and collaboration throughout the campus. We strive to ensure that learning comes alive in our environment by empowering students to take ownership and continuously make connections as they explore and wonder throughout the fluid environment. As I mentioned earlier, the space acts as a third teacher and facilitator to children in their learning process. We amplify the learning experience through the 20 fluid indoor and outdoor learning spaces. For example, there are sensorial walkways, tactile walls, a garden, and doodling surfaces throughout the school to support Montessori's sensorial focus. Visual stimulation and spatial awareness comes to play through many colors, shades, shapes, and patterns, photos and graphics that the children see on the walls and surfaces. There are large skylights which create a sense of curiosity and playfulness as the sun moves throughout the day. While the environment acts as a facilitator, we see our students collaborate together and strengthen friendships. Most importantly, safety, hygiene, health, and well-being are priority. Several post-COVID hygiene practices have been in place since the inception of the school. The amount of space for a child is generous at twice the amount of the international recommendation.
When families come into Kai, they go, wow, this is the first of its kind that we've seen. And our goal here is to spark a sense of wonder and joy when a family, and more so when a child comes in. Children love being at Kai. They learn through exploration and play. And the environment here at Kai is full of stimuli, from having tactile walls to writable surfaces, to textured walkways, and the open environment that sparks imagination and curiosity. You will see children enjoying getting their hands dirty, doing art and craft, and being one with nature outside in our garden. I've experienced this firsthand being a mother with a child in the early years. My son comes to Kai and he doesn't want to go back home.
Kai is an outcome of decades long of extensive research in the field of early childhood development, where the first 8 years in the life of a child hold a lot of significance, as skills like interpersonal skills, cognitive skills, and communicative skills are being established during these 8 years. And it is our firm belief that, of course, a child's ability to capitalize on these significant years is directly related to his or her environment, which is why the design that we did for Kai is also responding to the fact that the environment is in fact the third teacher for a child. The design program that we created for Kai is based on Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, which theorizes that a human being does not have a single intelligence, but various intelligences based on linguistic abilities, artistic abilities, cognitive abilities, as well as socio-emotional abilities. So the spaces that we have designed for Kai are basically responding to all these activities, which eventually come together to form the entire floor plan. Our approach to design has been very child-centric. So when we first started looking into how Kai was going to evolve, we started visualizing spaces through the lens of a child. So much so that we were basically drawing free-flowing amoebic forms on paper. We were scooping out spaces and developing these tentacles of the amoeba to form into the various learning pods that we were going to offer in the design. All of this has now come together. Rather, one such amoebic form has come to life in the form of Kai. From conception to construction and well beyond, the developmental needs of children have been kept in mind while designing Kai. So right from the beginning, where you enter the premises of Kai, the curvilinear patterns of the building guide the movement of a child into the school, and this is through a variety of occurrences like the tactile surfaces, the sensory walkway, the sound and musical garden, the mounds as well as the play structures, and not to mention the herb and the vegetable garden. This herb and the vegetable garden is an integral part of the learning experience of a child at Kai, where he or she is going to pluck the fruit or the vegetables, take it to the kitchen, and thereby have a very hands-on learning culinary experience. Play being a very important part of the development in the early years, we have given a lot of importance to active play areas. So all throughout the campus you are able to see active play structures, mounds, you're able to see rock climbing walls, sand pits, water play based activities, as well as some passive play areas for the children to explore. As one enters the building, there is a sense of wonder or a sense of awe in the mind of a child, where you're entering a space which is flooded with a lot of daylight, since there are two skylights, one at the entry area, one at the storytelling area. And it is quite amusing to see a child sort of lying on the floor looking at the blue skies through the skylight. Not only that, on days the framework of the skylight also casts a very peculiar spider web kind of shadow on the floor, and children actually love that. They love sitting in this area, looking outside, looking at the sky, and this is a really magical experience. We believe that learning is not restricted to the indoors alone, and specifically for this age group in the early years, lot of their learning happens in the outdoor spaces, which is why at Kai we have provided seamless indoor-outdoor connections, be it the smaller learning decks or the deck which leads you from the art zone to the outside, or the covered cafe areas. The plan as such is an open plan where the spaces flow into each other. However, we have been mindful in distinguishing these areas by providing flooring patterns, or by means of ceiling patterns, or by means of acoustic divider screens. We are sensitive about the needs of a child. There are times when a child could have bad days, and on days like these he or she wants to retire or wants to be in a cozy corner or in a smaller silent nook. In order to address that, there are various cave spaces that we have provided at Kai. Very sort of one which is very popular amongst the children is the one under the staircase. Various zones like the storytelling zone with step seating, dramatic zone, dance areas, dance and music areas have also been incorporated into the spaces. Now, although an open floor plan, areas where acoustics is highly important, like the dramatic zone, the music area as well as the dance area, have been provided with enclosures. In order to address the anthropometry of this age group, a lot of our surfaces on the wall that are provided with tactile surfaces like pegboards or soft boards, or interactive walls like the Lego walls, basically start at skirting level, and we have taken them up to 4 feet height so that they are easily accessible to a child who is barely maybe 2 to 4 feet in height. Not only that, the exterior windows that we have provided are also at a level where there is a constant direct visual connection from the indoors to the outdoors. As far as the overall design theme is concerned, we have left the color palette quite simple in terms of just timber and exposed concrete and whites, such that the soft boards on which the work of the children is going to be displayed will actually be catching the attention of the entire premises. Now also, security and safety is of prime importance at this age group. So all the furniture that we have provided have rounded corners, so much so that even the structural columns in the building which are in exposed concrete are actually circular columns. Personally, the journey of Kai for me as an architect as well as the entire design team has been very satisfying, and it will hold a special place in our hearts for years to come. we have been able to translate the futuristic dream of the Kai team into a buildable form, and it's very heartening to see the children use every nook and corner of the space the way we have envisioned the spaces to be. Not only is Kai a one of its kind of a project in India, but it has also gained international recognition at this point of time, and it's been a very satisfying experience to be part of the entire journey from conception to construction and well beyond that.
As a parent, I really love this school, and so do my kids. It's an amazing school. Gives them an amazing experience. There are so many different places, there are so many different things to do, and I remember the first time that I came to visit Kai, I was blown away by the school, by the colors, by the textures, by the amount of detail that has gone into this campus. It's absolutely incredible. We love looking around and being able to explore so many different things. And the kids especially, they love things like the sand pits, the mound area, the slides, the indoor slide. My son and daughter just love the fact that inside their school they have a slide that they can go down between their classes. Even things like the walls, there are textured walls with different things all around the school. Inside the multi-purpose studio, for example, there are giraffes and butterflies and different trees and things on the walls, all with different textures. So some are shaggy textures, some are cork texture, all sorts of different things. And the kids get a great sensorial experience in that way when they're going around exploring the different places around the school. My daughter particularly loves the peacock in the drama room, which is full of mirrors, and they love being able to look inside and see themselves, and it gives them, this sense of wonder. It's really nice. As a teacher, I really enjoy teaching at this school as well. It gives you so much inspiration because you can take your classes to so many different spaces, and we have opportunities to take our classes both indoor to the different places inside the school and also in the outdoor area. And in the big area in the middle of the school is a Montessori area, and so you've got some students working on Montessori activities. You've got other students in another area in the school who are working on IB activities at IB inquiry stations, and then you've got other places where they can do STEM or STEAM activities, and you can see them all sharing the space together. The school is so well designed that the acoustics work, and so you can share the space without it being a problem. You don't have a noise problem throughout the school. It's really well thought out and really well designed. There's a rock climbing wall, so the kids get a chance to, develop their climbing skills, and also use the ladder and the rope swing. And that was a favorite activity of my son's. So we've just had such an amazing experience here. And another thing that we love about the school is the fact that it has its own garden, and the kids can actually plant seeds and then watch them grow. They have to give them water, they have to regularly tend to the seedlings, and they've managed to grow all sorts of different things there. They've grown tomatoes, eggplants, all sorts of different vegetables and fruit that they can then take home and we can eat with the kids, which is such a great experience, a real understanding, gives them a better understanding of the farm to table, those sorts of concepts, and they've really enjoyed that. We also really like the sound garden, and the kids have had a great time both in classes, and I know personally my kids love to use all sorts of the different instruments that they have. So they have things like bongo drums of different colors, of different sizes. They also have a vibraphone and xylophones and all sorts of different other musical instruments outdoors in the garden, which the kids can have a great time playing on. And I know some of the teachers have used this in their classes, in the music classes, and the kids love that opportunity to go out and explore in the garden and make music together, which is really nice. Another thing which we really love about the school is the fact that it is really designed with the children in mind. And so everything is thought about. Even the height of the sinks, for example, is perfect for the children. The bathrooms are the right sizes. Everything is really with the kids in mind. And so that the children can go and independently wash their hands, they can fill up their drink bottles, they can do all sorts of things without needing too much help. And fostering this sense of independence is, I think, really, really important for children of this age.
Thank you for joining us today and allowing us to share our story with you. We hope that you have had some valuable takeaways which can support your early years students and community. Together, we can transform the early years and ensure that each child and family thrives.